The Dark Clown, a shadowy terror that lurks within the walls and quad. It started with a faint rustling sound, like something moving within the walls. At first, I thought it was just a mouse or some other small creature, but as the nights passed, the sound grew louder and more persistent. I tried to ignore it, telling myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking within the walls of my apartment. And then one night, I saw it. A dark shadow moved across the wall, its form flickering and indistinct. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, but as the shadow grew more defined, I could see that it almost looked like a clown. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and its mouth was filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth. It moved with a sinister grace, slinking across the walls like a spider, waiting to strike. I tried to run, but the shadow seemed to follow me, stalking me through the dark corners of my apartment. Every night, I would see it lurking within the shadows, waiting to pounce. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. But then, I started to hear the whispers. They came at night, a faint susurration that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. At first, I couldn't make out what they were saying, but as the nights passed, the whispers grew louder and more insistent. And then one night, I heard the voice of the clown. It was a rasping, guttural voice, filled with malice and hatred. It spoke in a language that I couldn't understand, but its meaning was clear. It wanted to catch me. I tried to escape, but the shadow seemed to be everywhere, lurking within the walls, waiting to strike. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel its presence, like a weight upon my soul. And then one night, I woke up to find the shadow looming over me, its teeth gleaming in the moonlight. I tried to scream, but the shadow seemed to smother my voice. And then, with a sudden movement, it lunged at me, its teeth sinking into my flesh. I felt a searing pain as the shadow began to devour me, tearing at my flesh with a savage hunger. I could hear the whispers of the clown in my ear, taunting me with its twisted laughter. And then, everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. My body was covered in bandages, and I could barely move. But as I lay there, I could feel the shadow lurking in the corners of the room, waiting for me to let down my guard. I knew then that I could never escape the clown, that it would follow me to the ends of the earth, a shadowy terror that lurked within the walls, waiting to strike. And so, I spend my days locked within my apartment, waiting for the inevitable. Every night, I hear the whispers of the clown, and I know that it's only a matter of time before it comes for me again. I don't know what the clown wants, or why it chose me as its victim, but I know that it will never stop until it has consumed me completely, a shadowy terror that lurks within the walls, waiting to strike. Cap 2. As the days passed, I could feel the clown's presence growing stronger. It seemed to be feeding off my fear, growing more powerful with each passing moment. I tried to find a way to fight back, to banish the shadowy terror from my life. I consulted with psychics, priests, and other experts, but none of them could offer any help. It was as if the clown was beyond human comprehension, a force of darkness that defied explanation. And so, I resigned myself to my fate, waiting for the clown to strike once more. I could feel it watching me, lurking within the walls, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard a faint scratching sound coming from the wall. It grew louder and more insistent, until I could feel the entire room shaking with the force of the clown's fury. And then, with a sudden movement, the clown burst forth from the wall, its teeth bared and its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. I tried to run, but the clown was too fast. It seized me by the throat, its fingers digging into my flesh with a savage intensity. I could feel its hot breath on my face, could smell the stench of decay emanating from its form. And then, with a sudden jolt, everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor of my apartment. The room was bathed in a dim, red light, and I could hear the sound of the clown's laughter echoing through the walls. I tried to move, but my body was paralyzed, as if held in place by some unseen force. And then, with a sudden movement, the clown appeared before me, its eyes glowing with an unholy light. It spoke then, its voice a guttural rasp that seemed to emanate from the depths of hell itself. "You are mine," it said. "You will always be mine, and there is nothing you can do to escape me." And then, with a sudden movement, the clown lunged at me. I screamed then, a primal cry of fear and despair. But it was too late. The clown had claimed me, and I was doomed to spend eternity in its shadowy grasp. And so, I remain here, trapped within the walls of my apartment, a victim of the clown's twisted desires. I can feel its presence all around me, a shadowy terror that lurks within the walls, waiting to strike. I know now that there is no escape, no hope of salvation. The clown has claimed me, body and soul, and I am doomed to spend eternity in its twisted embrace. And so, I wait, listening for the faint whispers that signal its approach. And when the clown finally comes for me, I will be ready, a willing sacrifice to its dark desires. For I know that there is no escaping the clown, no defeating the shadowy terror that lurks within the walls. And so, I accept my fate, a prisoner of the clown's twisted whims, forever trapped within the darkness. PT3. As I lay there, trapped within the clown's grasp, I could feel my life force slowly ebbing away. The pain was excruciating, a fiery agony that consumed my every thought and feeling. But even as the clown feasted upon my flesh, I could feel something else happening within me. It was as if the darkness was seeping into my soul, corrupting me from within and twisting my thoughts and emotions. As the minutes ticked by, I could feel my mind slipping further and further away from me, consumed by the same madness that drove the clown to commit its horrific acts. And then, with a sudden jolt, everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the floor of my apartment once more. The room was silent and still, and there was no sign of the clown anywhere. At first, I thought that perhaps it had simply been a nightmare, a terrible vision brought on by my own fears and anxieties. But as I struggled to my feet and looked around, I knew that it was all too real. The walls were covered in a thick layer of black slime, and there were gouges and scratches all over the floors and ceiling. The furniture had been smashed to pieces, and there were shards of glass and splinters of wood scattered everywhere. But the most terrifying thing of all was the feeling of emptiness that filled the room. It was as if the clown had sucked all the life and vitality out of the space, leaving behind only a cold and desolate void. I tried to leave the apartment, but the door was jammed shut, as if glued in place by some unseen force. And when I tried to break through the window, I found that it was covered in a thick layer of impenetrable glass, as if the clown was keeping me prisoner inside. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. I lost all sense of time, trapped within the clown's twisted realm of darkness and pain. I tried to find a way out, to escape the clown's grasp and flee into the light. But every time I tried, I was met with failure and defeat, as if the clown was always one step ahead of me, always ready to snatch me back into its shadowy embrace. And then, one night, I felt a faint stirring within me. It was as if something deep within my soul was awakening, a spark of light amidst the darkness. With a sudden surge of strength, I pushed aside the fear and despair that had been holding me back and began to fight back against the clown's power. It was a long and grueling battle, one that tested my every limit and pushed me to the brink of madness. But slowly, inch by inch, I began to gain ground, chipping away at the clown's power and breaking down the walls that held me prisoner. And then, with a final burst of energy, I broke free from the clown's grasp and stumbled out into the light. It was as if a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders, as if the darkness that had been consuming me for so long had finally been vanquished. And yet, even as I basked in the warmth and light of the sun, I knew that the clown was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike once more. But this time, I was ready. This time, I would not be consumed by fear and despair. This time, I would stand and fight, no matter what the cost. For I knew that the only way to defeat the clown was to face it head on, with courage and determination. And so, I set out into the world, my heart filled with a newfound sense of purpose and resolve. For though the clown may still lurk in the shadows, I knew that I was no longer alone in my fight. There were others out there, brave souls who had faced the clown and survived, who knew the true horror that lurked within the darkness. Together, we would stand strong against the clown, no matter how fearsome and terrifying it may be. For we knew that the only way to defeat the darkness was to stand together, united in our determination to bring light to even the darkest corners of the world. And so, I wandered out into the night, my heart filled with a sense of purpose and determination. Though the clown may still be out there, waiting to strike once more, I knew that I was ready to face it head on, no matter what the cost. For though the darkness may be all-consuming, it can never truly extinguish the light of the human spirit. And with that light burning bright within us, we will never falter or fear, no matter how terrifying the shadows may be.